Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News. And I'm Ellie Holder, and we have William on the phone, and we're the hosts for tonight. Please hit the like and that bell so you can be notified when our shows are on, since we're a little bit not in tune yet. Uh, tonight, I'm going to start off with I forgot to tell William about this. Phil Donahue died. I don't know if anybody knew that. He was 88 years old. I believe he was still together with Marlowe. Uh, but the big thing over the weekend, folks, was the Russian volcano erupt after a 7-point magnitude earthquake. Now, the where the earthquake hit and where the volcano was about 100 miles. And I watched it. It spewed, I think, 8 to 10 miles of ash up into the air. There didn't seem to be any damage. Boy, I love the videos. Everything was just shaking. I think that's the shaking I seen when we had um, an earthquake when I was in Eureka, California. So I mean, it was our apartment shook. I mean, it was crazy shake. Everything was falling off the shelves. And, after an earthquake, you open your cupboards, everything falls out. I don't know if anybody knew that. William, do you know that? I don't know.
Yeah,
I
it's like
broke so many
living next
glasses opening my cupboards.
it's like living next to a freight train.
Yeah.
Where the freight trains come through, you need carpeting on the
So
shelves to keep everything from
now
like moving.
they're expecting more over there. I want to let me get this in here. Uh, let's see if I can do this right. Aha, here we go. All right, I can't get it any bigger for you guys. Well, maybe. No, I ain't gonna get it any bigger. There we go. This is the last 7 days, folks, and 83 earthquakes in less than a week. And I know we've had them before, but nothing like fours, fives, sevens, threes. There's a lot of it, and you could see it as a little choo-choo train. The only thing that didn't choo-choo train too was um, Alaska and the United States. So hang on to your boots. We could be um, we could be looking at a big earthquake here. Now I know we've been getting them here, but they're little ones, and I haven't felt anything yet. All right, let's
You
remove
haven't
that.
done a good earthquake until it feels like you're in an apartment out on the ocean sea state, 5.
Yeah. So today, the big announcement today was Blinken said Israel's accept Biden's ceasefire proposal, calls on Hamas to do the same. But they're thinking that um, this could be this plan they've been putting into effect for a very long time, and the either party wouldn't accept to it. They're hoping that this will help mediators get our hostages. We're also hoping that we can get aid to the Palestinians that need the aid, the ones that don't really want to fight in this war. Um, the other thing, speaking of the Palestinians, the DNC had their first rally today. I think that's, Hillary Clinton was there. I think Obama was there. But the protesters, oh my gosh, they got hit with protesters. William, have you seen it yet? All the protesters
Yeah,
they got? It
the
is, it's about as bad as the protests with George Floyd. There's lots of them. There's hundreds of them. And you
yeah,
read the
they
signs,
have
and it's,
transgenders with them.
you read the signs, and it's about the migrants, being able to come into this country and receive aid and help to get over here and don't lock the border. There were signs of the Palestinians and war.
And
What got
also
me
the
about the now, William?
Israeli.
Now get this with the signs, because when I started looking and I watched it probably a good hour's worth of protests. These are the ones that they don't want to step on any toes. These Palestinian protesters, that they have going against Israel are their voters. The migrants, those are their voters. So they really have to watch with this riot, William, to make sure
Well,
they don't lose these voters. But
there
they
are a
got tear
lot of
gas, they're ready. Huh?
came over from the Middle East. There are a lot of people that came over from the Middle East in the last 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it really started under Bush, and since Desert Storm, they've been flooding in.
Yes. Well, some of the protesters they talked to, they said they've lived here all their lives. So these are protesters that never been to Israel, never been to Gaza, never been to Lebanon, never even set foot over there. But they're protesting like they know. They're the
Well,
ones that know. We should do what they
their
say.
parents, their parents came over, you know, in the early '90s, you know, and they're young people, so they've never been there. They just know what their parents have told them,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and then they're radicalized by the internet as well.
Yep. Yep. They sure are. All right. Oh, and then we have, don't let me forget. Now, Khamenei is now saying Iran has to strike Israel or face bigger foes. Now, we know that they've been giving planes to Hamas and Hezbollah. This was something that came out today in the news. But not only that, they have, let me get to the right place here.
Remember, Persia conquered Israel
Uh,
before, you know, in Old Testament times.
yeah. Now,
And
clearly,
so did Babylon.
now, you know, he's been spouting death to America, and just a week ago, week and a half ago, they were saying they were going to hit Israel anytime, anytime. So when are they going to do it? So when are they going to strike? Well, nobody knows. It could
After
be.
the election, that's why we're
It's.
using the carrot and stick.
I think that's a lot of these wars and a lot of these, like China or over there in Somalia, or then let's move over to China with India, Ukraine, all of it. I think these leaders are waiting till the election to see, because if Trump gets in, things change. And that's something we're going to discuss tonight with the coups that are happening. Now, clearly, you know, Khamenei, for whatever reason, he wants this confrontation, but he explained that destroying America was primary goal of his regime, and this has been a slogan. Guess, William, this thing's been going on since 1940s, of Iran spouting death to America. We're going to get you tomorrow. See, I never realized that until this article came out.
It started when Khomeini came to power, when the Shah of Iran came to the United States for cancer treatment, or France, I can't remember which. And then the Ayatollah seized power, and they took American embassy hostages, right? The Marines and the people at the U.S. Embassy. That was the beginning of Iran's death to America march.
Yeah, and you know, we started giving them money again, and we're still paying Iran. And so with this Biden-Harris agreement, with what is it? What's it called, William? I should have got the name of it. The agreement we got with the Arabs.
JCPOA.
Okay, JCPOA, right. So under that, we've been sending millions to Iran. Now this time, after the death to America, and the things that were said last week by one of the leaders, and saying, you know, this is it, we're going to get you. Or not get you, but get Israel. We will make a strike on Israel anytime. It's going to be tomorrow. It's going to be next week. Well, in turn, the Biden-Harris regime has worked hard, and they made sure they sent the regime 10 billion in unfrozen funds to Tehran. Uh, will its money and gestures of goodwill deter Khamenei from striking? Is this what's holding him off? Is 10 million holding him off, or is it the election? Nobody knows.
It's the three carriers in the region and the 10 millions. It's the carrot and the stick. The administration doesn't care that Hamas and Hezbollah attacks Israel. They just want it to happen after their election so they can get into power. Remember, for the Democrats, everything is local politics. This whole world, this being the leader of the free world isn't really a big thing for them. They're all local. And so they will do anything in their power to ensure that they get into power or stay in power, if that means emptying the South China Sea of U.S. carriers and moving them to Middle East to get Iran to shut up, or I'm not shoot, but allow them to be bellicose and scream, but not, not attack Israel until after the election.
Yeah. And when you hear stuff, when you hear info coming out that we sent this money, and it's not on the news, ABC and NBC or whatever the joke of the news platform and their stations. I don't know. They're not going to tell you this, folks. They're not going to tell you they just sent them $10 billion dollars. Why? Why would they tell you that? Because they don't want you to know what the hell is happening in America right
they're
now.
Owned by they're owned by European sympathizers, and Europe just really doesn't care about the Middle East.
No, and it's like we're sleepwalking through a disaster politically, with not only over here but with foreign affairs. That's all it shows, is that this administration does not have adequate
well, they've left all kinds of ambassadorships
this is
open
bad.
around the world as well.
They don't have the time. They haven't put the time in. They're so politically wanting the vote or wanting to change that their foreign affairs, they're sleepwalking on it. But that's where I always say, William, if we had a military guy in power, we wouldn't have this problem, because they would be making sure we had a relation with each one of these countries. And I'm going to get to it later, talking what Trump did. And I want the people in this country to understand that we're at the very end of I don't want to say freedom, but the end of we're moving into a new era that the politically and politicians, and I'm talking both sides, Democrats and Republicans, shame on both of you, because we're moving into an end of an experiment in democracy called constitutional republic that frankly our founders wrote. And oh my God, I got a bug messing with me in here.
So the end of the long march is what the communists call it. It's their 50-year plan, same as the Soviets had, and the idea was to get the United States to be overthrown from within, because they knew they couldn't overthrow the United States from without. And we're at the point where everybody has to make a decision, and if you fall on the wrong side, it's at your own peril.
Yeah. Now, if you read through the Federalist Papers, and people don't run out there and read it. I don't think it's something real important. But with that, and then I got to studying our history and world history. And I've told you the original plan of the Democrats in the 1800s was a one party system, one leader, and that was going to be like, like the British Queen or King. And this was taught in schools at that. And when I went, we we were taught that about the one party. We were told about this is social economics, I believe, or civics, and we were taught that when the Whigs came in, that the Democrat Party worked very hard to end the Whigs. They didn't think they were right, but then we got the Republicans. So I want to, stupid bug. Um, I want to move on because I don't want to get stuck on old history stuff. And, to like the JFK assassination. Now we're talking the Kennedys and Martin Luther King were going into the next term as Republicans. And that's something we all need to realize. And I talked to William a little bit on it, and I don't want to spend a whole bunch of time. But I personally believe that the Kennedys and Martin Luther King were assassinated due to the fact they were switching to the Republican Party. Uh, everybody's got their own theory, but that's mine due to talking with Elvita King, Martin Luther King's niece, and listening to her and listening to some of her speeches. Um, Showing that the family, this is what they were told. They were all told by Robert Kennedy that JFK and Robert and Martin Luther King definitely was switching parties. So I'm going to move on because, then we got Nixon, and, even Hillary was a part of that. So, um, William, I know you had something to say really about Nixon because this is when it went from the JFK coup, it went to the Nixon coup, and you know more about the Nixon thing, I think. Or do you want me to just keep going?
Well, Nixon was a conservative. He had some peculiarities, if you will. But the idea that you could just push a president out, that was a whole new thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that was brought by the Berkeley crowd, i.e. Hillary and her friends like Pelosi, right?
Oh, yeah.
And they set a precedent. Now we have regular coups in the United States by one way or another because, well, it's allowed. Before that, up until Ike, that would never have been allowed. That would have been a rallying cry for an instant revolution to take those folks out.
Right. Now, see, the thing is, and you mentioned this earlier. So when we got Bush family into office, this was their last chance to move into a planned coup, the next coup. And what it did, it started with the FBI, the CIA, the ATF, all of those top policing government agencies. And each of the Democrat or the Bush family was in control that started the FBI. That was that next push. To get into the FBI, to get into the CIA, and it would be controlled by a one party system. But unfortunately, every time we vote and it goes to a Republican in office, we do get a few in there. But think about how far this goes back. What, the 50s, William? With the FBI? 50s, 40s?
Well, the FBI was brought in during Prohibition.
Okay, there you go.
Right.
So that they've been doing this. They've been infiltrating who they want in FBI power. This even goes as far as Secret Service today.
It goes back to Truman.
Goes back to Truman. Okay, and so each of the Democrat parties put Democrat into each time they got into power. They put lots in, a lot of them in, and the Republicans were wanting to present their platforms just by speaking to the public. They weren't so into putting people into place until they started realizing, and this was after the Clinton administration. So now when the Clintons moved in, what they did was decide to put Democrats into DA spots, judges. That's when the Secret Service started changing, the ATF started changing, and they wanted to change the justice system because that's what they did here. And even Hillary Clinton in a speech said she was going to do that. She said, what we did here with the justice system, with the policing system, with how we work with China, we're taking it all to Washington. And I'm yelling and screaming, and nobody's listening to Ellie back then in the 80s. And I'm saying, you don't realize what they're going to do. I mean, I was ready to put my American flag upside down because I was in distress. And not only that, but they worked on, since the Clinton administration, to get control of the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not being mean to the Democrats. This is truth, folks. This is truth. If your friends are Democrats and they're just not sure right now, it's in black and white. You can find it all over the internet. And top levels of intelligence now is all controlled by just a few. Even the nuclear code right now. You remember the football? I guess they call it a football, William, or that little box. There is at least 6 people that have that code now. That was never supposed to happen. I thought just the president. And you look it up, and it's only supposed to be the president, maybe the vice president. But who's going to sell it to the highest bidder when we can you see that bug? It's just bugging me real bad. He's still coming over here. In time, is it like the next president? Are they going to have 10 people? They're going to have 15 people? Are they going to add generals that they know? Head of FBI, head of CIA? Who's going to be able to get these codes now? It's no longer a protected, protected by our government.
Yeah, no one person in the United States is ever supposed to have the capacity to launch except for the President of the United States.
And, if everybody is counting on Trump, think of the alternative, folks, because there are so many in this administration, even Republicans that hate Trump. We have 28.
We don't have a single Republican governor that wanted Trump to be in office.
And it's still the same. It's come to find out because I was, I had a few months in bed to look at I had my phone in my face a lot to start looking some stuff up.
Same thing happened under Reagan.
Mm-hmm. Except
nobody wanted Reagan in D.C. None of the governors wanted that. And then it happened, and then of course they fell in love with him. But that was after the people fell in love with him, and they had to catch up with the train. So that's how it works. Yeah, the globalists, most local Republicans will sell you to the highest bidder.
And getting Trump in 2020. Now that was an anomaly, I must say, because he is. And what it was is he was a Democrat, and the Democrats used to count on him at these hearings that they have all the time for economic issues that they wanted to be able to prove. Well, when Trump started proving their way wasn't right, that it was the way of socialism leading to communist. See, this is why he left, folks. Sometimes you got to listen to Trump. And so he walked away from the Democrat Party. And see, that was a big no-no. Because then when he ran for president, he knew what they knew. He knew the plan. He knew what the plan is. He knows the coups that they are putting in place fast,
He
really
didn't know
fast.
how. He just didn't know how deep and how craven they were.
Right. Um, so so Obama, when Obama came in, Obama was definitely let everybody know that he was a socialist and he wanted to bring socialism in. Well, how he presented socialism, boy, this is just crazy. It's like, everybody will get more welfare. Hey, we'll get you in college with grants, and you really won't have to pay for much. We're going to start bringing in more migrants to help them out and to help. Of course, it was for their vote, but the
Obamacare.
Obama, yeah, with Obamacare that was for all, but it just really messed up a lot of the insurance companies. But it was medical for all. That's when it was medical for all. Where'd they get that idea? Because they do it over in Europe, and they have been doing it. And they said, "Hey, United States, why aren't you doing it?" And Obama's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, let's just bring that in."
Europe
And
are 73 democracies because of the Constitution of the United States. The United States ever fails, all these countries in Europe will go right back to dictatorships.
mm-hmm. And
It's
see,
it's what they would prefer. The aristocracy would prefer. They just can't do it because of the will of the people seeing what the United States is doing. So the second we lose that war, then the Constitution's gone, the Magna Carta's gone, civilization all the way through Martin Luther, back to the Pope being the supreme voice of the Western world. That's where they want to go.
and with the Obama administration, that's when I started seeing the change for both sides. And those that are way up there, the Speaker of the House, started to change because he literally took over Congress. Now, I'm talking both sides, not just Democrats, but the Republicans, to make sure that they were compromised. Okay, now I'm talking serious compromise people through either money, their behaviors, or blackmail. And how we did learn this is, remember when oh, we're going to get Trump because he was in Russia in a hotel with strippers or call girls or whatever, prostitutes. And we come to find out they lied. But see, they tried something with uh, Trump Jr. They put him in a hotel. They tried to get him in, trying to do the same thing when he was there talking about adoption or having them work with him to find Miss Food. And so they tried to change it into he was doing really bad things at this hotel also, but they were never able to prove it.
Well,
And currently, William, currently the Republican Party it dominated the majority right now. But why isn't Speaker?
Realize that the money that does all this corrupting is tax dollars. Just rolled back into campaigns from foreign donor that we helped out to business that's got special breaks from the government. All the money that corrupts the United States is actually your money. It's your and my money.
It's kind of like, how did Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein win their seats with 110% of the vote? You don't win with 110%.
Ellie, when the Soviet Union fell, Gorbachev left the Soviet Union because it wasn't safe for him anymore. And so where did he move? He moved the next place that was very active with communism. He had all the
Mhm.
KGB knew exactly where the greatest number of those people were that were had the capacity to move forward with communism in some other way, and so he moved to that place, San Francisco.
Mhm. Big time San Francisco. So, when we talk about this in our politicians, you ever notice they get up there and they're they're speaking and all this stuff they want to do, want to do, want to do. Well, why hasn't anything been done? I mean, Speaker Johnson, McCarthy, both speakers of the House, even Schumer when he cries, but nothing ever goes anywhere. They present all this info, all this stuff that would be great for America on our tax dollar, and does it get done? No, it never goes forward. I've sat and watched forever
Well,
hours.
it does, but not until they've done every other thing wrong. They're compelled to do the right thing to get whatever bad thing they want to happen.
Hmm.
Uh, so you're not being governed because they care for you. You're being governed because they have no other choices.
Well, yeah, it's like I said, because of the money, the power that others have over the top of them. The blackmail is really bad because then you find out, oh, all of a sudden, the lady, one of the DAs in Alabama or something, they just caught her with, um, what was it? She hid votes, like 4,000 votes or 40,000 votes. But see, you don't hear about that on the news. But it's like she starts leaning the direction away from turning her state into a socialist state or a communist state, helping everybody out. They start moving away from it. And the second they take that step away, they're gone. I seen it in California, all the years in my 20s, and then again when I went back out in the 90s, during the Clintons. And I was like, oh my God, look at what they're doing. They just pick people out. And then it was, what they did that? The Clintons did that here. You wouldn't believe some of the people end up dead here. I think there's over 100. And then they have 100
Well,
people on their hit list that they're killing
that's why
off one
there's
by
so
one.
many politicians that are lawyers. They're amoral.
That's it.
They'll
And,
defend any side.
and
They're up to the highest bidder.
yeah, and then that's the politicians. And the other coup that I didn't really like was the woke in our military, William. The woke in our military. And I could spend all day
Well,
talking to you about that,
that's
about foreign
fascists
policy.
and communists. That's just fascism and communism uh, ideas brought to capture the minds of the young, uh, and they not knowing that it's antithetical to the Constitution.
Hmm.
They're
And
just not aware of.
um, I mentioned foreign policy earlier with the failures that we have, not just with our politicians but our generals. And how many generals, excellent generals, walked away when Trump was in office? And then, when you hear them speak, or you find little videos or articles on them, they said they wish they never would have done it because of the situation that happened in Afghanistan,
Well, they
and walked
believed the
away.
lies of the left when he was coming in. They didn't realize that he was going to act, in their benefit. They believed it was otherwise, and they made the mistake.
Yeah, and we spent close to $20 trillion in Afghanistan and Iraq, and both of those theaters of war. And left them in poverty. It gave these countries not just weapons and protection, but aid to their poor. And where did that come from? We
Tax
cut
dollars.
and we raised taxes for all of it to pay for it, and we simply fall for their lies of war. Oh, we got
The
to send
Cold
them.
War.
Oh, these poor people in let's say Ukraine. We got to send them money. Well, why didn't their own government take care of them? Why is it we instantly go over there and all of a sudden these people are starving to death? And this has happened. They did it in Iraq. We get into Iraq, we did that big old bombing, and automatically said, "Oh my gosh, we got to give them food. We got to give them aid."
Because we spent $30
We
trillion
didn't tear them up.
in the Cold War propping up Europe, and
Mm-hmm.
every time the military moves, they want to use the same cookie cutter sheet, if you know what I mean. And they haven't adjusted themselves from thinking about the world in the Soviet Cold War. We always fight our battles. We always gear up for our last battle. And, you know, they're still behaving as if we're at the very end of World War II. Or, yeah, at the end of World War II, where we had to feed the Germans,
Mm-hmm.
we had to arm the Russians, we had to arm uh,
And the
Great Britain.
sad thing, William, is we send them this aid, let's say $10 million. It goes to the government. The government takes it for their soldiers first. And then what's ever left goes to the people. And this has happened since I think World War II. You know,
Right.
because you got to feed the soldiers
that's why
first.
we have to do nation building, because we did it in Germany.
And now the whole thing, like with Ukraine, this goes back to 2014, even 13. I've been telling everybody about this war that's happening in Ukraine. But everybody's like, oh, no, it's just happening right now. No, we've been sending millions, millions. And if everybody noticed, Barack Obama says, oh, we're going to send them blankets. No, that wasn't the case. If you looked a few weeks before that, he had sent millions of dollars for aid for the same thing: food, blankets, medical supplies, all of that. So, he's like, oh, I'll send him some blankets. I'll send him some blankets.
So the opportunity for Americans here in the United States has been given up for the good of the world for the last three generations.
But one thing I seen, William, that I hadn't seen before in any of these wars is when Trump got in office, Ukraine stopped, because that was something my reporters over there told me. They were like, here we were over there watching Syria, then we went to Ukraine, and then everything's going on in Ukraine. United States Congress and senators were coming over. They started getting weapons. They started getting all the aid for the weapons and aid for the people. And this was in 2014. And then Trump got in office, and they were like, oh, wait a minute. Let's just stop for a sec. How come that? Why is it that that's why I'm thinking, like we talked earlier, that these leaders are waiting. Because if Trump gets in, it's no, if Trump gets in now, the foreign policy is going to change for the better, because he knows he's got the foreign policy social part that he can talk to these leaders and calm them down. It's not he's exchanging money and handshakes behind everybody's backs. He's really trying to fix this for a safer world. And I think any Republican in office would do that.
Trump was not willing to give away the farm like Congress was and just aid everything. He was only willing to use U.S. treasure, if you will, if it was in the best service of the people of the United States. And that doesn't work very well for globalists. So it put the brakes on them.
Now, when everything quit in Ukraine, what I want to explain to everybody is it just wasn't because Trump. It was, but Trump was bringing in, and I did this on one of my shows. Karen could probably even I think Mary even listened to it. When I did the big show on Ukraine, that showed that Hunter and Joe and all of them were all part of Burisma. And when he brought in the task force to start looking into, like, their president took all the funding, all the money in Ukraine and left. And then the Bidens let him in the White House, saying, "Oh yeah, we're buddies with you now." But when Trump got that office in there, the best thing for Ukraine was to, oops, we're not going to let anybody know why all the politicians are over here while they're all fluttering over Nord Stream. And, we can't have no war to get the attention. So during the Trump administration is when they went full board. And I knew something was going to happen in Nord Stream, William. I just knew it. Because the Biden family, it wasn't just Burisma. They started fixing up all the chemical plants or operations, the medical
Lab.
the medical labs. Yeah, they fixed almost all of them that Russia left, and they were old and they were just falling apart. But they got in there and they fixed them up, and a lot of people don't know about that. So and then they got into the banking system there. Then all of a sudden they're a big part of Nord Stream. And then what happens? They control Nord Stream. And then let's mess it up and blame Russia for it. I don't know why everybody blames Russia, so China can get away with everything. William, I don't know. I'm getting way off.
Russia is no longer communist. Russia is not communist, nor is it fascist. So it has to be the enemy.
And so everything is in place, William. Everything is totally in place. There's only one thing missing. They have to, this is something I heard, that if the pandemic that happened in 2018, if the pandemic didn't work, of course they would find something else. Now we got this stupid bird flu going around, folks. Now, is there looking at maybe a new pandemic?
Every time Trump's about to win office, we end up with a plague.
Right. So
we end up with a major investigation. We end up with everything that can possibly happen to slow down an administration.
Right. Okay,
and
so
what you saw happen from 16 to 20, you're likely to see from 24 to 28. They're just going to rinse and repeat. They do what they do.
Yeah, but they add new new platforms to it. But now,
we just had people before Congress that were being chided for trying to get their stuff built in China.
Yeah. Now you remember when Trump put that team together that was going to go over there to Wuhan. Remember that? And they were going to look into what had happened. They were going to investigate Wuhan labs. Well, that wasn't going to happen, because then we had Dr. Fauci got put in, and all of a sudden everything changed, and they were kind of pushed off the side saying clerical investigation, not hands-on. And what got me was we seen fentanyl at an alarming rate right about that time. I had to go back and time it and see when the first huge wave. I mean, it had been trickling in from China, but it really pushed in soon as we pulled the vice president and others away from this investigation. Now, this, like I said, this is all, everybody can check me on this.
Trump put the pandemic under the control of the vice president.
Right. But see, William.
Foreign policy.
But then we had four, yeah, but see, because the vice president, folks, remember this, your vice president controls foreign policy. That's their big job.
The president controls foreign policy, but what I'm saying is for the president he can't be everywhere all the time.
Right.
And so they delegate power to their subordinates, which happens to be
the vice president. And
vice
see, a lot of people don't understand that.
Was big on China, was a globalist, and so, you know, of course Fauci would come along. If it hadn't been Fauci, it'd been somebody just like Fauci.
Right. And during the Obama administration, okay, I want to go back a little bit. The first lady is always in charge of the schools. Always. So not only did Hillary change it, but then Michelle Obama came in and changed the structure, because that's working with the top people for our education system. So when Biden came in, look at who we had and look at how messed up it is, because they're bringing in socialism to the kids for lunches. And they're going to be getting gruel, I tell you.
That goes all the way back to Eleanor Roosevelt. That's where the president was set, for the first lady being in charge of the schools.
And so, you know, so really, I'm going to get back to fentanyl, because then we've seen it at an alarming rate. And soon as they had gotten enough into our system, it was, so they wouldn't really look at fentanyl and where it was actually coming from, or that the new labs in Mexico, they started pouring the migrants in. So that was their next wave, because they were going to make sure if they made all these migrants will come in here, it's a free for all. We'll give you everything you want, but you got to vote for us. They gave them all phones. They're giving them, heck, they're filling up all the hotels. And I told a friend today, I said, I don't know if I want to do hotels no more. Who's been there?
They're buying votes with tax money. It's what Democrats do.
So that was their next wave. Because see
they've done the strategic petroleum reserve under the Democrats.
That's right. So they got the schools, and you know they got China moving in different waves of disasters to bring them into power. And this is something, like you said, I've been telling everybody, it came from the 1800s. I'm not making all this up. This is everything that they've been doing. And I don't want to bash Democrats, because some Democrats just don't know. Some of them are just made to do it this way.
Hollywood prefers communism.
Right. But China has taken over the Hollywood and film industry.
Big business prefers communism.
Who's that guy? Oh goodness, the guy that plays John Wick. I'm so bad with names. Someone in chat tell me who John Wick is. But that star, he's the one that said he had to walk away. He had to walk away from Hollywood because it was so taken over by socialism moving to communist in Hollywood. He couldn't breathe. He just couldn't breathe. So he left.
The same thing happened in Israel. They like to have their communes, right? A lot of those people that were attacked by Hamas were living in communes on borders there near Gaza. And because they were part of their insular little communities, they weren't able to protect themselves.
And when Trump was in office, folks,
A lot
you remember,
of people came to Israel came from the Soviet Union. They were given the opportunity to come, but they brought their communism with them.
mm-hmm.
And it's permeated Israel, and now it's permeating the United States, and you know, Germany and England and Australia. Why? Because it's closer to their religion, number one. The other part is if you look back at Jewish history, they believe that people that aren't part of the sons of Abraham, if you will, following the Abrahamic laws, that if you're not following the Abrahamic laws, you're kind of subhuman. They believe that they're better than other people. The exact same thing that Hamas thinks about Palestinians versus the Jewish people. And then you take Christians, and Christians just accept everybody. We're kind of in the middle. We're the reason why civilization actually grew, rather than having these hideous totalitarian states slaughtering each other constantly.
Mm-hmm. And the other thing, you know, coming over the border was, and this doesn't get enough attention. And I get emails from these ladies saying, you know, about the migrants killing their family members, or that they lost 85,000 children that came across the border illegally.
What? They lost
now,
them?
William, now remember, because, you know, I thought has to be it. There was sex rings that the Trump administration, they were investigating, and they were able to release thousands of kids. And they wouldn't give the names. They would not. They gave a few names out, but not very many. But there was thousands of kids that was released. Then all of a sudden we get the Biden open border, and they lose 85,000 children. You know, we are number one in the world for sex trafficking now. When did that happen? You know,
well, it started under Obama.
Yeah.
It really got no.
Yes.
What's the name of the two brothers that worked in the administration? The Podesta brothers. That's when it really got
they
going.
disappeared, and then they came back, and they're working for our government with China now. The Podesta brothers.
Well, yeah, that's what they do.
Now the thing is everybody says who's really in power, you know, if Biden wasn't. Well, I've always said Obama. I heard something way back at the beginning that Obama had like an office that he was working with many Democrats. Not only that, intelligence, Biden, of course, but not only that, but you remember they put him in the top spot with the UN. And then, of course, we know that he's working with the World Health Organization because they pick somebody for it. But I don't think Biden's really making the decisions. But it's a decision by a group. And we got Klaus Schwab. We have Soros.
There's no leader. There's no leader. There's a conference of people.
So
you've got external people and you've got internal people. Well, when you talk about internal, you're talking about the Tony Podestas and the Obamas of the United States, the Clintons, the Pelosi's.
Well, all you have to do is look at who's speaking today at the DNC rally. It's Obama, it's Hillary, it's...
Control of the United States. Then you have the external control of the United States. the Crown of England, the WEF, the
NATO.
World, yeah, the World Trade Organization,
Mm-hmm.
and finally you've got the World Health Organization at the United Nations.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cabal, a group that controls
Mm-hmm.
the United States. Unless you have somebody that's an outlier come in and be president, like a general or a television warrior, if you will. You know, Trump never held office before he became president.
Mm-hmm. No, he wasn't a politician. He was a businessman. Everybody thinks he was on. He's just a angry superstar that's saying you're fired for a show. And I don't know how many times Democrats said that and said that's why they don't like him because he's a bully. I was like, wait, did you see everything he done before?
That's been great for the United States because, frankly, the president of the United States, if you're Democrat, you're there to manage the United States. If you're a conservative Republican, not a liberal Republican, a conservative Republican, you're there to be the president of the United States and the leader of the free world.
Yeah. And how, when Obama got into office, they really had to kick everything into high gear. And thank goodness he was, everybody loved Obama, supposedly. He was going to lead us into, I guess they were thinking what Trump did. They thought this is what Obama was going to do. And he falls
Obama
short.
told exactly what would happen. He said, they're going to give you change you can believe in.
Right.
Well, believe it happened.
And so many people didn't realize because that's where the squad comes in of pushing a new social party that can come in and take care of everybody. So he did as much as he could. I mean, he big time.
Squad came in to counterbalance the power that was coming out of Israel and coming out of Europe. And it left the Middle East on its face and North Africa on its face. So the squad came in to take that power back to those areas.
But it was to bring the Muslim and even a part of socialism, and because the Muslims still needed to be accepted. And when the squad came in, then Michigan became, it was okay for the Muslims. And, they're winning with high numbers. And, when the Durham report came out, okay, the Barack Obama decided, when the Durham report came out and it wasn't really in their favor, they decided, you know what, we have really got to step up our game. And Barack Obama then, he got Susan Rice on board. And now a lot of people don't know a lot about Susan Rice, but Susan Rice, I think she is one of those, she is a communist behind the scenes.
Valerie Jarrett.
Yeah. And for those that don't know, the president has 10 advisors that work with him at the White House to make sure he makes okay decisions. And all the presidents except for Biden and Obama told everybody who they were. Now we know Susan Rice was one because she came out and said so. And these are people that have always pushed socialism. My fear, though, is it was socialism of being accepted under the Obama administration. Now it's being pushed even more when Biden signed in all those bills to push the socialism into place.
The Republicans say they can't do things because they're restrained by the Constitution, and generally they do that. The problem is they don't hold the Democrats to the same demand, and
No.
Democrats don't give a damn. They'll just do what they want.
It goes right back to what did they do? You know, did you do something wrong? Did you look at that girl? Did you, put your arm around the girl at the bar? Did you buy a prostitute? Hey, did you by chance get caught with some drugs that were planted in your car? Or what about um, um, uh, buying, insider trade deals? Whatever it is. Or did you steal votes? Who cares who the votes were? Did you steal votes?
That's why the intelligence agencies are so important to the Democratic side, is because they watch everybody so everybody can be blackmailed. That information gets shared out of those agencies.
William, they said, with this next vote, or 90 days, less than 90 days, what about 80 something? A little over 80, I don't know. We had 28 Republicans that voted with the Democrats. Now, General Flynn and Glenn Beck, a lot of people have said this. Even MSNBC said that they project over 30 Republicans like the idea of socialism and is ready to move forward and vote with them to bring it in, no matter if it's Trump or Camilla. That should scare the hell out of everybody.
The WEF and major business out of Europe believe this will be the last United States national election.
Yeah, I keep hearing that too. And it will probably cause a civil war in our own country, which, would gladly, Russia and Iran and China would love. They would even help the Democrats probably on their side. Yeah, who knows? We have civil wars that in Ukraine and Russia right now. Look at what they're using. That was just a simple civil war, and look what it turned into. Folks, you guys, this ought to scare the hell out of you.
Well, in Russia and Ukraine, if you're civilian, you don't have a right to have arms at home. Can you imagine what it looked like in the United States?
Yeah. And lastly, there's a few things still. When we looked at the pandemic, folks, remember we said they're just going to use the same thing over and over. When the pandemic rolled in, what the
Bill Gates should have been brought in and prosecuted for that.
Yeah, quite a few, Fauci and a few others, because according to some of the people that have defected,
they say
that came over here. Remember, there's like 4 or 5 of them, William, that came over and they start talking, and then they shut up. Well, what they were saying was that first pandemic, that was the beginning of what they call a bio attack war.
It's bio warfare.
Now, fentanyl was part of that. To bring it in is a bio
warfare. Virus
attack
or a bacteria is
right.
Bio warfare.
Now, some of them
chemical warfare.
Right, and some of them have even claimed now through it from China talking to Japan. Now, China has even disclosed, it was right before that big earthquake hit, so I thought it was kind of weird, that we had the pandemic, we had the fentanyl, and they claimed that they have released little mini pandemics or the flu in our country. And they see in different areas where it is working the best. So they're experimenting. And they said with China coming over here and they're buying farms, they're buying businesses, that they can just easily drop it for their Chinese buddies. and to see how it affects the city. Does it spread more? And they said that this bird flu, this is what got this, I mentioned this earlier, that this bird flu could be the next pandemic, and they'll do it the same way they did it last time. They'll give Trump 1 or 2 years, and then boom, they're gonna do the same thing over again.
You remember anthrax?
Yep.
That was a trial run.
Yeah. See, that was you're right, and that was one that was mentioned. I should have kept the list.
Shock. Then there was SARS.
Uh-huh.
Then there's COVID, SARS 2. Now there's going to be
can't say the C word.
This is all biological warfare.
The C sickness, the C words, it's a pandemic. The C thing we get in trouble for with YouTube. We can't say COV thing.
Oh, yeah, that.
I'm just warning you, don't say it. We could say SARS, we could say anthrax. Now, folks, I know everybody has went into the doctor's office and they said, if you got this, you need to let us know. That is the bio war attack that I'm talking about. This should scare you.
The European Union has to have, as of September, vaccine cards along with their passports.
And before the pandemic, a couple of years before, and I wish Karen was in here. I did a news report on a seminar that they held in Texas, and lots of elite, even Bill Gates was there, the Clintons were there, some of the Bush family, intelligence, and of people from other countries. And they had this scenario. If we had this pandemic and it was like this, and we say, suppose it was from China, from some lab, or maybe Ukraine from some lab, and they mentioned Ukraine. And they ran a scenario of what it would do to the world to bring in stronger leaders in these countries. And then you start looking at some of these.
If I were the president, wherever that breakout happens, first of all, I'd incinerate it. Whoever started the breakout and had the virus anywhere, I'd incinerate it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's the only way to protect people is get rid of the contagion immediately. So wherever the breakout happens, incinerate it.
And they even had
incinerate it immediately.
They had that disease in Africa, and they ended up with people here that are infected. They let them in our country because they were a migrant and they were suffering. Well, yeah.
We should have napalmed that area.
Because they weren't the people weren't going to be locked up. And see, there's the other one. They keep, and come to find out, it came from China. Well, AIDS came from Asia. We can go all the way back to AIDS, people, because AIDS was on that list.
It was a biowarfare.
They call it a biowarfare attack. For China and the communists to move in and take over. Yeah. And now we're looking if no matter who, if we get, let's say Trump gets in, okay, and he does his 4 years, and then more than likely they're going to be building, they're going to be planning, they're going to be plotting to push in communists, them have the vote day one for 2025. Oh no, 2028, 29, 29.
If Trump and Vance win, both Trump and Vance understand that SARS-2 was biowarfare. They're not going to allow that to happen twice.
That's probably the report I was taking a look at, the one they were probably looking at and talking about. And it's being well known over there. And Japan is the one that really broke the story with Taiwan. That all of this going even back to AIDS, that this was a biowarfare attack. The only problem is we have leaders now saying, yeah, this works. It helps us get a vote. It helps us to look at the boxes that they had where people were dumping hundreds in. Oh, that didn't happen. Yes, it did. The box camera caught them doing it, and so did businesses all around that box. They caught them loading the vote. We can't get a fair election, folks, because if we don't have this happening, or we don't have, and I seen it on, um, I seen this on videos that people were showing on their phones when they voted for Trump, it flipped to Hillary Clinton. Okay, and if we don't have that going on, we have other countries that that hit our votes, that try to get in the middle of it and change things how they want it. Of course, the world leaders are going to do that. So, do we have a fair election? The only thing I could say, folks, vote on election day. Please don't vote early, because that's what they did this last time. Everybody that voted early, they knew, they tallied the votes, and they said, okay, we need this many votes to be able to win Trump. And that's what they did. You have to vote on election night because they can't tally the vote. There's no way to fix that. And the first, when Trump went in 2020, more people voted on election night than sending it in. Why? Because we didn't have the pandemic. Now everybody's getting lazy, saying, I don't want to go stand in line for an hour. No, go stand in line for an hour, please. We have to save our country. I mean, what the hell is going on?
You need to go in the morning, not in the afternoon. Make sure you vote.
Now get this. This was one thing I found, and I thought it was very interesting with the voting. It happened in, let me see. I think it was, Nebraska. Okay. The turnout, there was a small town in Nebraska where Trump did a rally. Thousands and thousands turned out. It looked at, when they did a pre kind of idea of it, Trump was winning big time. But when the votes were tallied,
it was opposite.
Only 27% of the Republicans voted. Really?
Yeah.
Really? And some states, or some cities in Nebraska and some of the smaller cities across America, only 30% of the Republicans showed up.
We can expect this election that everything will be contended, so that they're not going to just let the elections slide this time. They're going to demand recounts. If the Republicans don't win, they're going to demand recounts. If the Democrats think they didn't win, they're going to demand recounts. This is going to be chaos.
Yes. I don't think we're going to have a real number for a day or two. And lastly,
get ready for the ride. Don't expect peace and tranquility during this election, because too much is at stake. It's not just the United States at stake. It's all the people that have choice in the world might lose their choice if the United States doesn't maintain its Constitution and its international power.
And I really think, William, that it was a coup against a lot of them, a lot of journalists and reporters and everybody saying there was a coup against Biden to get Camilla in.
A coup against Biden. There's a coup against the Republicans.
Now, get this.
And when the thing people have to realize is these are just stages of coups that are ongoing.
That is part of the plan. Don't think that it's just a coup here and a coup there. No, it's all part of the plan, because for over 100 years, 120, 30 years, the Democrat Party's plan, and written, I mean, it's written by, they say, some of our founding fathers, and it's been carried on over and over and over again with the Democrat Party, that the United States should be under one ruler like it is over there with the Queen or the King of England.
Well, keep in mind that when Britain couldn't win the United States in the Revolutionary War and then the War of 1812, then they turned to the South.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're seeing.
Yes.
And we're seeing war by other means from our supposed best friend in the world. The truth is the King of England doesn't care if the United States is free. They want them to be their colony. But the British people are thankful to the United States, and they like the status quo as it is, because otherwise Britain wouldn't exist after Hitler.
Yeah.
So it's a quandary for all involved. So they have to bring in this thing through lies and subterfuge over time, just like you have a frog in water and you can slowly turn the heat up. It'll stay in the pot as long as you just warm it up a little bit at a time until it's boiled. And that's what's happening right now in just not the United States, but the world. Because in World War I, everybody lost their colonies.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody lost their aristocracy being in control of their countries. Some of them earlier, like the French during the French Revolution, but most of them at the beginning of World War I. And they want to go back to it. Excuse me, that was a mistake. That was an accident. Well, yeah, it was an accident on their part, but that's because there was what's the word? Mechanized warfare came about, and they didn't take account for it, and they thought that the way they'd done things in Europe for 1,000 years would still be the same type of situation. They got overrun. The aristocracy got overrun by mechanical warfare, mechanized warfare. And they think they have a handle on it now. Now they want to go back. They want to go back to the way it was because they deserve it. It's the way it's supposed to be.
We'll never return back to, I'm going to say, like home sweet home. We'll never return to a constitutional republic with the freedoms that we
might,
once had.
But it might take 2,000 years. You know, it took us 2,000 years to get it the first time. It'll probably take another 2,000 years to get it next time.
Yeah.
So if you want to give up 71 of your next family generations to communism that in the 20th century just killed a mere 100 million people, yeah, that's what you do.
And these rhinos really believe that their policies are better than what me and you want, or even some of the republic that are against it, because it's on, like I said, both sides.
They're American aristocracy.
We have Republican rhinos that just irk the heck out of me. I call them and tell them I don't like their policies that they want. I'm sorry.
You've got people that believe
they want they're being a progressive, and they want this socialist system of government. And what we don't know is we're under the socialism system now. You know, it's like they say, oh, there's going to be a depression, and oh, we're in a recession. No, a recession happened under Obama. Trump got a little bit better, but now it's so far down that it's a depression. People are
They want
hurting.
they want federalism to move on to socialism.
Yeah, that's
because
right.
they believe the District of Columbia is equal to the other 50 United States.
And once they can get the next Democrat in office, the reins of what they say will be socialism is actually communism. Because
That's
the
right.
whole socialism is a lie. Because if you look into socialism, they just by the time they get done explaining it, it's socialism slash communist. It's
Socialism only worked
is
in
the road,
Germany.
and communist is the plan. After the road, you get everything put in place.
So socialism only worked in Germany because they had to rearm after everything was taken from them after World War One, and they had to pay all those reparations. If they hadn't had to pay reparations and rearm, they wouldn't have done socialism. They would have done communism. Hitler would have been a communist.
Oh yeah.
Just so everybody knows, Hitler would have been a communist if Germany didn't have to rearm.
Yeah. And
get out of reparations.
What we're seeing, and everybody says, well, if Trump gets in, nothing like this will happen. Folks, I'm gonna tell you, there are still Congress and senators that push their plans, and they get their way, and they get enough votes to get in bills that change this country.
Look at Lindsey Graham. What's that Mormon guy? They believe they're special aristocracy that we owe them, that the people of the United States owe them our allegiance.
And the thing is
they don't think they work for us. They think we exist for them.
Mm-hmm. And they were saying close to over 30 Republicans were going to be in as that would do the vote of the Democrats. Folks, look it up, find out. They have a list that said who votes with the Democrats. Now, I'm not trying to put the Democrats down because it's like anything. There are Democrats that want the change. There's Democrats that are flocking to the sides of the Republican or independent. I heard a lady today say she loves being a Democrat. I guess it was at one of these protests. But why are they raising the prices? Why can't she pay her rent? How come she has to make $25 to $30 an hour to be able to do rent and utilities and the normal costs that people have? And she was crying, tears run down her face. She says, "So."
But she said she's probably going to vote for Camilla because she'd be the first.
She said she has to.
She feels more comfortable with that.
Well, no, William, this lady she was an African American, and she said, "What choice do I have?" And she said, "Not that I want to. It's the fact that I have to change parties because this party has gone in a wrong direction only because it has a few wrong people in office." And that's what made sense to me. They're not all the Democrats act like Pelosi. There's some of them that really don't want to do what they're doing. But what choice do they have? They can change parties, but they won't. And then you got
they don't believe they have a choice. That's why they always vote exactly what they're told to vote.
And the hardcore ones. I know so many people that are like my parents or some of the people I know that had parents that were Democrat, that it's just so hardcore that they don't care what the politicians do. They're a Democrat in blood. It's in their DNA, and they're going to vote Democrat, and no matter what the Democrats do. Now, but if we can change their minds, because we changed the mind of this one woman, and I'm starting to see it. We had, they said a slew, 20, no, it was a 30, I'm thinking 37% of African Americans have now switched parties. College students, they're saying a little over 40% college students are now changing over to Republicans. And the one reason is the same thing that lady said: I can't afford my rent. I can't even afford a car. I can't afford my utilities. I have 4 or 5 kids and I can't hardly feed them. I have to work 2 jobs.
You're
And
going to have nothing and be happy for it.
and Camilla Harris, what she say? Well, first she was going to raise taxes. Now she's going to cut taxes. Well, a reporter off, you could hear them all yelling questions. One said, "What are you going to cut taxes on?" And she was done. She basically didn't want to say no more. So we don't know the plan of the taxes she wants to cut. Will it be taxes for Wall Street?
She could change them now.
She could have. She had 4 years to do this.
She doesn't have to wait until the election. If she was going to do it, she could do it now.
That's right.
That's just,
Joe Biden's sleeping. I mean, she had 4 years while he was sleeping. I mean, he's only up 8 to 5, I think, is when he functions, and the rest time he doesn't. She could have put everything in that she wanted.
She wants, she'll get right now.
But I hate to tell you guys to watch it. You're going to have to watch the DNC convention and listen listen to what they're saying. Look into what they're saying, folks, because that's you have to listen of what they're saying for you to decide. And if you're a Democrat, folks, I just don't want to see after the votes when we all realize the horror what we just voted in.
Oh,
I don't want to be a socialist or a communist.
Peace is not freedom. Equity is not liberty.
And
you have to keep track of this sophistry they use.
Right. And if we don't get info out that we know, either candidate, either vice president. But William, you told me earlier today that the vice president is with Harris. He made 30 trips to China and did not divulge that info to the FBI. Well, when they're checking them out.
He was a master sergeant in the Army of the National Guard. So he was the highest, of the National Guard he was at. He was the highest ranking non-commissioned officer, making multiple trips to China and, just not sharing that, hey, I'm spending a whole lot of my time in communist China because I'm a U.S. service member. Sure. That works out, but
And he did this while he was in the Army, and he didn't even tell any of the people in command what he was doing. Because of the Biden family having all these ties to China, Pelosi does. Bill Gates. The big people we talked about. It was part of this little group. Soros does, Klaus Schwab, the Bidens, the Bush family, the Clintons. Really, Clintons a major into China and stuff that's going on over there. And
I think the NBA.
So I'm going to agree with you. This is just speculation. I don't know for a fact, but I think this vice president is part of the reason they want to use him to bring the communist Communist Party, to have everybody accept it way better.
Well, during the
he's a spy.
Pandemic, can we use the word pandemic?
Yes.
So during the pandemic, he had soldiers out on the street, and if people weren't in their homes, he had them shot with paintballs or pepper balls by the cops. He was having his own constituents in his state as governor shot with pepper balls if they didn't go in their homes.
Yeah, something to think
So they
about.
couldn't stand out in their yard without being shot by the police.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he gave the order.
So what's he going to do? We talked about
States?
maybe another pandemic coming through as a repeat performance. So is this what he has planned for the National Guard for us to make us stay in our homes?
The whole digital banking,
Mm-hmm.
right? No dollar.
Yep.
Biden has already signed the
Yes. I had the number for that written down.
The presidential order, and the second this election's over, if the Democrats win, your dollars will no longer be dollars.
That's
They'll
it.
just be something out there in the ether.
Yeah.
That can be manipulated. If you buy the wrong thing, once you go to the digital dollar, every penny you spend gets reported back to the government.
Yes, that's part of the communist
every mile
way.
you travel.
30 countries now are running under that program, that digital program, and because they're saying this is beginning to be a majority of the globe under global as one. This is what Klaus Schwab wants.
China uses that system now. They just want to export it to the rest of the world. The EU wants it, but a lot of them have gone most of the way there. They're just waiting for the United States to go to do it, and they're all waiting for this election. But they're all set up to go.
Now get this, it was backed by oil, okay, and now they want it backed by they want this digital in. And when they cut off the oil and decided we were going to go electric cars, well, 40% of those that have ties to oil, the oil industry, were either Republican or independents.
They want banking and insurance.
They cut the throats of all of the 40% of Republican oil industry. I mean, so you could tell that was just a stab at the political party. You take away their money, and they say, "Oh, they're making lots and lots of money." Not really, because they're cutting off you have to get permits to be able to drill, and they're not giving them out. Where they could do 10 before, they're only doing 2.
And at the same time, they burned up, a couple trillion of the national petroleum reserve. They want us to run out of all carbons, period, even out of, a coal mine. They want to get rid of carbon-based life forms on the planet.
And
that's all animals and all plants.
Well, look at even they're building the high walls on the freeways, and where there's only one exit you can get in and one exit out. And over in China, that's what they do. And they put them in little communities, and they get their little store, but you have to check, you have to go through a border security to get out. That's the way, and they're starting to do that here.
Administration has been putting all kinds of money into construction, like these communist circles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But not, like paving the roads or fixing the sewers or making sure we have good electrical lines and we have plenty of transformers. Oh, no, not that. Just, communist circles.
William, do you have anything last to say? I mean, boy, we've been around the world and back again today.
Well, folks, think for yourselves. Save yourselves. Nobody's going to step up and make things right if you let things go wrong.
Yeah.
The wolf's always at the door.
And tonight was important. I've done kind of some of these shows before, but if I didn't tie the whole communist plan and the coups, so you understand what's going together, and it's not that I'm down on that party. It's a warning that there are people beyond our political parties' roles that control things.
There's evil in the world, and they're populating one party more than they're populating.
Right. If we can have another country that can interfere in our elections, then we know that there is a people together that have gotten together that wants to control the whole world. And I think they're going to portion it out. But for the most part, no matter what party, it's who's above it and who's above our president and who is telling and controlling our president to do what they're doing. And that's a big warning, because now no matter who is president of with the Democrats, they're under control of this group of globalist. I think they're worse than that. They're not. You can't even call them that. I'm talking Soros and Klaus Schwab and some of these. And Obama's even joined in on it. And I think Biden has just gotten so old that they need to bring in the new, because they got Hillary Clinton and Bill Gates, but these guys are getting old. They need fresh meat, folks. And that's Kamala Harris.
Well, they're importing those folks. That's where Barack came from. That's where Camilla came from. Camilla grew up in Canada. She's only a U.S. citizen by birth. Her parents were only here for a short time.
Yeah. So anyway, William, Wednesday we have the World War III report, and I know there's a lot of stuff going on. And we'll definitely be back on Wednesdays, folks, or Wednesday. And next week, I'm really hoping to start getting more of a bigger plan for William to get back in and do his show, me to get back in to do lifestyles news. There's a lot of people that like that lifestyle news. It's, I'm trying to keep it to 30 minutes on it so we can do some of these other shows. And I want to thank everybody for this
90 days.
Yeah. And as we get closer, election night, we'll be here. I'll have the charts up just like I did with the last two elections. I'll have all the info up for you guys to watch. And trivia this last Friday. I want to thank everybody for we had big support for that.
It'll be just like last time. And it'll be reported. We'll report it first.
We will try. So with that, please hit the like button, the thumbs up, and the bell. And I appreciate you guys watching. Please share. This was a very good show for Democrats that want to listen and they want some answers and they don't know what the hell's going on in our country. I mean, I didn't put a whole bunch into Trump is going to be our savior and he's going to be better. I wanted to bring you what the politicians are doing and who the world leaders are.
You're that guy that did that song, Richmond, North of Richmond. He's a Democrat, can't understand what's happening to him.
What the hell is going on? All right, folks. Yeah. We thank you for watching. And William, my co-host, I'm so glad you're sitting at my side and getting me through the rough weeks until I can get back on board and, we can do a lot of these shows again.
Thanks for the opportunity, Ellen.
All right. So long, folks. Have a wonderful night. And please share this video. It's important to let some of your friends know what the hell is going on. Okay, William. We'll see if everything ready. All right.